1. We're checking out this absolutely classic 1977 Ford F-150 Custom that just popped up on Craigslist for $11,900. Let me tell you, these old F-150s have a special place in my heart, and this one's got some seriously cool features to talk about. First off, we're looking at a red step-side body style, which is just gorgeous on these 70s Fords. It's got those classic flowing lines that you just don't see anymore. Under the hood, you're getting that legendary 390 V8 engine, which was one of Ford's most reliable power plants from this era. Paired with an automatic transmission and 4WD, this truck was built to work hard and play harder. The odometer shows just 34,523 miles, though with vehicles this age, you'll want to verify if that's original. What's really catching my eye is that clean title status, always a good sign when dealing with classic vehicles. The custom trim level wasn't the fanciest package available, but it offered a nice balance of utility and comfort for its time. What makes this F-150 particularly interesting is that it's from a sweet spot in Ford's truck history. The late 70s models are becoming increasingly collectible, especially 4x4 versions like this one. The 390 engine option is also a huge plus for collectors and enthusiasts. For $11,900, considering current market values for classic trucks, this could be a solid deal if everything checks out mechanically. As always, I'd recommend a thorough inspection, but these old Fords were built like tanks, and with proper maintenance, they can run forever. 2. We're looking at a pretty interesting 1973 Chevy C10 that's caught my attention, listed at $15,000. Let me break this one down for you straight up, because there's quite a story here. This isn't your average 73 C10. We're looking at what appears to be a pretty sweet restomod situation. The sellers installed an LS motor, possibly a 6.0L, which is a massive upgrade from the original power plant. They've also thrown in a rebuilt transmission, new exhaust with headers, and it's sitting low on 15-inch rally wheels. Classic choice. Now let's be real about some things here. The truck's running a mixed bag of parts. It's got an 81 front clip and doors, which tells us this is somewhat of a parts bin special. The seller's honest about it needing some work still, and the interior needs attention with that seat cover situation. The odometer shows 79,000 miles, but with these kinds of modifications, that number's probably not too relevant anymore. What I really appreciate is the seller's honesty. They bought it for their son, but realized it's got too much power for a new driver. Smart call, by the way. The body and bed are reportedly in very nice shape, and it's got some nice touches like a tilt column and quick-release steering wheel. At $15,000, considering today's inflated C10 market and the LS swap, it's not a bad price if, and this is a big if, everything's been done right. These trucks are super popular right now, and finding one with an LS swap already done can save you some serious cash and time. 3. We're checking out a 1979 Ford Bronco that's listed for $19,500, and I've got to be completely honest with you about this one. Look, the seller's being pretty minimal with the details here, which always raises some eyebrows in my book. They're telling us it runs and drives, and was recently serviced, but that's about as detailed as a stick figure drawing. We're looking at a blue Bronco with a V8 engine, automatic transmission, and 4WD setup. All standard stuff for these classics. Now here's where we need to have a real talk. The odometer has rolled over, meaning this Bronco has done more than 100,000 miles, potentially way more. That's not necessarily a deal breaker for these old workhorses, but at $19,500, we really need more information about its actual condition and maintenance history. These late 70s Broncos are absolutely legendary vehicles, and their values have been shooting through the roof lately. But at this price point, with such a vague description and a rolled-over odometer, I've got to say you'd need to inspect this one very carefully before pulling the trigger. The clean title is a positive, but given the current market, you really want to know about rust issues. These Broncos were notorious for it. The condition of the removable top, the state of the mechanicals, and any modifications or restorations that have been done. For $19,500, you should be getting a pretty solid example of a '79 Bronco, not just something that runs and drives. My advice? If you're interested, go see it in person, bring a mechanic, and ask a lot of questions. These are amazing vehicles when they're right, but they can also be money pits if you're not careful. 4. We're looking at a 1980 Ford F-250, and let me be completely upfront with you. This is a project truck being offered for $1,300, and we need to be real about what we're looking at here. First off, this is a 4x4 with the 302 V8 and a 4-speed manual. A great combination when it's working right. The seller's being pretty honest about the truck's condition, which I really appreciate. It's got 64,000 miles, but here's where things get interesting and a bit challenging. Let's not sugarcoat it. This truck needs work. The seller straight up recommends towing it away, which tells us a lot. While they say the engine runs great and is smooth, and the transmission, clutch, and 4x4 are functioning, there are some red flags we can't ignore. There's an oil leak that needs addressing, and it's got a salvage title, which definitely explains the low price point. Currently, it's on non-operational registration, which means it hasn't been road legal for a while. The seller's describing it as needing TLC and restoration, which in project car language usually means bring your wallet and your toolbox. But here's the thing. At $1,300, if, and that's a big if, the engine and transmission are truly in decent shape, this could be a worthwhile project for the right person. These old Ford trucks are built like tanks, and the 302 4-speed manual combo is pretty bulletproof when maintained properly. 5. We're diving into something pretty special. A 1966 Chevy C10 that's listed for $18,000. And let me tell you, this one's got some interesting details worth talking about. This is an original paint truck with natural patina, which is super desirable in today's market. What makes this C10 particularly interesting is its short bed conversion, completed by Kyle at Metalox Fabrication in Arizona. When the seller mentions it was done right, that's actually a big deal. Proper short bed conversions require serious expertise, and having it done by a reputable shop is a major plus. Under the hood, we're looking at the original 292 inline-6 engine, which is actually a really cool find. These engines aren't the most powerful, but they're known for being virtually indestructible and have a great torque curve. It's paired with a 4-speed manual transmission with a floor shifter, which the seller says shifts smoothly through all gears. The truck's got a nice stance with a 3-inch front and 5-inch rear static drop, sitting on original steel wheels with factory hubcaps and new tires. That's a clean, period-correct look that really works. The interior's keeping it mostly stock, which is refreshing in today's world of overdone restomodded trucks. Yes, there's one rip in the seat, but the dash is clean, and it's even got a working period-style radio. Now let's be honest about the downsides. There is some rust on the front fenders, which the seller's upfront about. With these old trucks, some rust is pretty much expected, but you'll want to inspect the extent of it carefully. 6. We're checking out a 1977 Ford F-150 that's listed for $15,000. And let me give you the straight scoop on this classic pickup. We're looking at a red F-150 with the robust 351 V8 engine paired with a 4-speed manual transmission and 4x4. That's a pretty desirable powertrain combination for these old Fords. The seller's had it for 7 years, which is actually a good sign because they've likely gotten to know the truck's quirks and personality. Being originally from California is definitely a plus point. These trucks often have less rust issues when they come from the West Coast. The odometer shows 65,000 miles, though as with most vehicles this age, you'll want to verify if that's original. Now, let's be honest about the condition. The seller mentions some paint fading, which is pretty common for a 45-year-old truck, especially if it's been spending time in the California sun. Other than that, they're keeping the description pretty simple, just stating that it runs great. At $15,000 firm, we're in the territory where these vintage F-150s are currently trading, especially for 4x4 models. The market for these classic Ford trucks has been strong, particularly for clean running examples. However, I definitely want to do a thorough inspection before pulling the trigger. Check the frame, transmission, transfer case, and all the 4x4 components. 7. We're looking at a pretty interesting 1978 Ford Ranchero listed for $10,000. and I'm going to give you the honest scoop on this classic car-truck hybrid. Let's start with the good stuff. It's powered by a 351 Cleveland V8, which is a fantastic engine when it's running right. The transmission has been recently rebuilt with less than 200 miles on it, which is definitely a plus. It's loaded with power options, steering, brakes, windows, and seats, which is a nice luxury package for a 78. The 92,000 original miles isn't bad for its age, and it's got a clean title. Now let's be real about the current situation. This Ranchero isn't running at the moment. The seller's being completely upfront about the issues. It needs a carburetor rebuild. They even provide a quote of $285 from a specific shop. Front-end work, and the tilt steering needs attention. The seller mentions it has good bones, but there are clearly some projects waiting for the next owner. The seller is apparently selling due to illness, which often means this vehicle hasn't been getting regular use lately. It is currently licensed and insured through October, which is good, but you'll need to factor in the cost of repairs to get it roadworthy again. At $10,000, you're buying a project that needs some immediate attention, but Rancheros are becoming increasingly collectible. These car-based pickups offer a unique blend of utility and style that you just don't see anymore. The 351 Cleveland is a desirable engine, and having a freshly rebuilt transmission is a significant plus. 8. We're checking out a sweet 1971 Chevy El Camino that's listed for $19,000. And let me tell you about this classic beauty. This El Camino represents one of the best years of these iconic car trucks, and this example appears to be a well-maintained specimen. We're looking at a white exterior, and the seller states that the paint is newer, which is always a good sign. Under the hood, you've got the classic 350 V8 engine, a power plant that's not only reliable, but also has huge aftermarket support if you ever want to add some extra punch. What's particularly interesting about this one is that it comes with factory AC, which wasn't super common for these vehicles back in '71. The seller mentions the interior is newer, and both the stainless trim and chrome are in good condition. These elements can be expensive to restore, so having them in good shape is a big plus. One of the most important things the seller points out is no rust. That's huge for these vehicles, as they were prone to rust issues, especially in the quarter panels and bed area. With 68,000 miles showing on the odometer, it's got relatively low mileage for its age, though as always with classics, you'll want to verify if those miles are original. At $19,000, you're in the ballpark for a clean 71 El Camino in today's market, especially one with AC and good cosmetics. These vehicles have been steadily appreciating, combining the style of a classic muscle car with the utility of a pickup. 9. We're looking at something really special, a 1956 Ford F-100 project that's listed for $12,500. And this isn't your average classic truck build. Let me break this down because there's a lot to unpack here. This is essentially a pro touring style build in progress, and the modifications list is seriously impressive. The truck's got a 4-inch chop, which gives it that wicked custom look right off the bat. The chassis work is extensive. They've grafted in a '73 Torino subframe with disc brakes and added a Ford 8.8 rear end with a 3.73 Posey and disc brakes out back, all suspended on a 4-link with coilovers. Now let's talk power plant. They've dropped in a 5.3 L LS engine paired with a 4L60E transmission. That's a killer combination that'll give you modern reliability with serious performance potential. The electrical side is well thought out with a Flanders plug-and-play harness and a new Easy Wire 21 circuit system. They've even included an unlocked and tuned PCM, which means this truck is ready for further modifications if you want more power. Some really nice touches include a Lincoln Continental electric bench seat, those are super comfortable, custom aluminum gas tank with an electric fuel pump, true spoke wire wheels, custom aluminum radiator, and a chrome Speedway steering column topped with a purple metal flake steering wheel. That's some classic hot rod style right there. 10. We're looking at a 1963 GMC 1000 that's listed for $5,500. And let me give you the honest scoop on this classic truck. This is an interesting piece of American iron running a 305 V6 long block paired with a Muncie 4-speed manual transmission, a robust powertrain combination that's known for reliability. What's really cool is that this truck still rocks its original black California plate, which is always a nice touch for collectors. The seller's being pretty straightforward about recent maintenance. They've installed a new battery, alternator, and BrakeMaster cylinder, which addresses some key mechanical components. They're also throwing in some valuable spare parts, including a new clutch and the original carburetor and air cleaner setup. Now, let's be real here. The seller admits it's not perfect, and there are some mixed and matched parts like the Chevy front grille on this GMC. It's sitting on larger truck tires, which changes the look and stance from stock. The odometer shows 48,000 miles, but as with any vehicle this age, that number should be taken with a grain of salt. At $5,500, and they're open to offers, you're looking at an entry-level price point for a running, driving classic truck with a clean title. This could be a great starting point for either a restoration project or just a cool weekend cruiser that you can gradually improve while enjoying it. 11. We're checking out a pretty interesting 1970 Ford 1-ton truck that's listed for $4,000. And let me give you the straight scoop on this old workhorse. This is a commercial-grade Ford with the beefy 390 V8 engine and a manual transmission, a combination that was built for serious work. The seller's keeping it super brief, but there are some key points to consider here. The truck's got 98,000 miles on it, runs great according to the seller, and comes with newer tires, which is always a plus on these heavy-duty vehicles. Now here's what makes this listing particularly interesting. It comes with a Bobcat 250 welder with leads. For those who don't know, that's a professional-grade welding machine, and these units alone can be worth a decent chunk of change when they're in good working condition. The seller lists the condition as fair, which is usually code for, it's got some issues but it works. Given it's a 53-year-old work truck, you should expect some wear and tear, possibly some rust, and the typical signs of a vehicle that's earned its keep. At $4,000, considering you're getting both a running 1-ton truck and a welding machine, this could be a solid deal for someone looking for a work truck setup or a restoration project with some extra value thrown in. The 390 engine is known for being a torque monster, and these old Fords were built like tanks. 12. We're checking out a 1963 Chevy C10 that's listed for $18,000. And let me break down what we're looking at here. This orange C10 is running a 350 V8 engine, claimed to be pushing 300 horsepower, which is a nice sweet spot for these trucks. Enough power to be fun, but not so much that it's unmanageable. It's paired with a 350 transmission that's been upgraded with a shift kit, which should make for some crisp gear changes. Now, let's be honest about what this truck needs. The seller's upfront about a couple of issues. The AC needs repair, which isn't uncommon for these classics, and it needs bedwood. For those who aren't familiar, the bedwood is the wooden planks that make up the truck bed floor. It's a relatively straightforward fix, but it's something you'll want to factor into your budget. The odometer shows 80,000 miles, but as with most classics of this era, that number might not tell the whole story. The truck's got a new stereo system, which is a nice modern touch in a classic package. At $18,000, you're in the ballpark for what clean C10s from this era are bringing these days, especially with a solid drivetrain setup. These early 60s C10s have become increasingly popular in the classic truck market, particularly when they're set up with reliable small block power. 13. We're looking at a 1983 GMC Suburban listed for $8,200, and I've got to say, this is one of the most detailed and honest descriptions I've seen in a while. This is a 3/4-ton 4x4 Suburban powered by the 6.2L diesel engine with a 4-speed automatic overdrive transmission. What makes this one interesting is the Banks turbocharger kit upgrade, which adds some nice power to these old diesels. The odometer shows 49,000 miles, but the seller's being upfront about assuming it's rolled over once, making it 149,000 miles. Let's talk about the good stuff first. It's got a clean Nevada title. The body's mostly solid with minimal rust. Huge plus for these old trucks. And it comes with some nice features like power windows and tilt steering. The seller mentions a GM Goodwrench sticker on the valve cover, suggesting a possible engine replacement at some point. Now let's be real about what needs attention. There's some blue smoke on cold starts, though it clears up when warm. The gauges and climate control blower don't work, the driver's window is dead, and the other power windows are slow. It needs an alignment, shocks, and tires. The interior's decent but has some staining in the cargo area, and there's no third row seat. What I really appreciate here is the seller's honesty. They're straight up telling you it's a 42-year-old unrestored truck that would make a good project to fix up while driving it. The presence of the block heater is a nice touch for cold weather operation. 14. We're checking out a sweet 1966 Chevy C10 short bed that's listed for $24,000, and let me break down what makes this classic truck special. First off, this is a clean-looking build that strikes a nice balance between classic and upgraded. Under the hood, you've got the 327 V8 paired with a turbo 350 transmission. That's a reliable, proven combination that offers plenty of power while being easy to maintain. The 12-bolt Posey rear end is a desirable upgrade that puts the power down effectively. The sellers made some smart modernization choices here. They've upgraded to disc brakes, which is a huge improvement over the original drums for safety and stopping power. The truck's running a stock coil suspension with a 2-inch spindle drop up front, which gives it a nice stance without going overboard. The bed is brand new, which is a big plus since bed replacement can be a costly upgrade on these classics. The odometer shows 8,200 miles, which is likely since a restoration or rebuild, as these trucks are well over 50 years old now. The green paint appears to be in excellent condition based on the seller's rating. At $24,000, we're in the territory of well-done C10s in today's market. These 66 short beds are highly sought after, and this one appears to have the right combination of upgrades while maintaining its classic appeal. The disc brake conversion, new bed, and proven drivetrain make this a truck you could actually drive and enjoy rather than just show. 15. We're looking at a really clean 1964 Ford F100 short bed that's listed for $11,000. And let me tell you why this one's special. This is a two-owner truck, which is pretty rare for a vehicle that's nearly 60 years old. It's powered by the original 292 Y-block V8, a robust engine that Ford built these trucks around, paired with a manual transmission. The seller claims it's all original, which is becoming increasingly hard to find with these classic pickups. Let's talk about the recent work that's been done, because it's impressive. They've installed a period-correct Bluetooth radio, nice modern touch while keeping the vintage look. New seat covers, new carburetor, new battery, new rear window seal, new door panels and armrests, new fuel pump, and a complete new dual exhaust system from the manifolds back. That's a lot of fresh parts that address both cosmetic and mechanical needs. What's particularly noteworthy is the seller's claim of no rust. That's huge for these old Fords, as they were prone to rust issues. With 93,000 miles showing, it's got relatively low mileage for its age. The truck's finished in black, which, when done right, really shows off these F100's classic lines. Now it's worth noting this is a pure classic truck experience. No power steering or power brakes here. That means you'll get a proper workout in parking lots. But hey, that's part of the authentic vintage truck experience. 16. We're checking out a 1978 Chevy CK pickup that's listed for $18,200. And this one's got some serious appeal for classic truck lovers. First off, this truck appears to be exceptionally well preserved. The seller is emphasizing zero rust and no wrecks in all caps, which is huge for these late 70s Chevys that were often prone to rust issues. With 74,616 miles on the clock, it's got relatively low mileage for its age. What makes this truck particularly interesting is that it's loaded with factory options that actually work. The AC blows cold. That's rare for a 45-year-old truck. It's got tilt wheel, cruise control, and they've added a modern AM/FM/CD stereo system. The manual transmission adds to the driving experience and is typically more reliable long-term than the automatics of that era. The modifications are tasteful and practical. It's sporting brand new Toyo Open Country MT tires in a serious 315/75R16 size, paired with a rough country lift kit. They've also added a spray-in bed liner, which helps protect the bed and gives it a clean, modern look. At $18,200, you're paying for condition here. The seller's confidence in saying "must see in person" suggests this is a show-quality example. These square-body Chevys have been shooting up in value lately, especially well-preserved examples with desirable options like working AC and manual transmission. 17. We're looking at something really special. A 1970 Chevrolet El Camino SS 396 that's listed for $14,600. And this one's got some serious credentials. Let's talk about what makes this El Camino particularly exciting. This isn't just any El Camino. It's a documented genuine SS 396 with the 350 horsepower engine package. The seller claims to have full documentation, including the original window sticker and protecto plate, which is huge for authenticity and value. That's the kind of paperwork that serious collectors dream about finding. The color combination is factory original, cranberry red with black stripes, paired with a black interior. Speaking of the interior, it's reportedly all original with bucket seats and a center console with floor shift. That's a premium setup for these cars. The fact that the interior is original and in great condition is particularly impressive for a vehicle over 50 years old. One of the most significant claims is that it's rust-free and the bed still wears its original paint. That's incredibly rare for these vehicles. With 98,966 miles showing, it's got reasonable mileage for its age. At $14,600, if everything checks out with the documentation and condition as described, this could be a serious bargain in today's market. Genuine SS 396 El Caminos with documentation typically command much higher prices, especially with original interiors and rust-free bodies. 18. We've got a real treat for you, a 1966 Chevrolet El Camino that's currently up for grabs on Craigslist. This beauty is priced at $27,500, and let me tell you, it's worth every penny. Now, I know what you're thinking. But wait, what's the catch? Well, my friends, there isn't one. The seller themselves has listed this El Camino in excellent condition, and from what I can see, they're not exaggerating. The red paint job is stunning. And with only 5,364 miles on the odometer, this classic is practically begging to be taken out for a spin. Under the hood, you'll find a newly installed 396 engine that's ready to roar. And with a clean title and automatic transmission, you won't have to worry about any pesky paperwork or shifting gears. Plus, the seller has thrown in some sweet custom extras that really make this El Camino stand out from the crowd. Now, I know some of you might be skeptical. After all, it's not every day you come across a gem like this. But trust me when I say that this is the real deal. The seller seems genuinely passionate about this car, and it shows in the care they've put into it. So if you're in the market for a classic ride that's sure to turn heads, you won't want to miss out on this 1966 Chevrolet El Camino. With its low mileage, excellent condition, and custom extras, this is a car that's ready to be loved by a new owner. Don't wait too long, though. A deal like this won't last forever. 19. We've got a real treat for all you classic truck enthusiasts out there. I've just stumbled upon a 1968 Chevrolet C20 that's up for grabs on Craigslist. And let me tell you, this beauty is something special. First off, let's talk about the price. At $19,500, this truck is a steal. But as always, we've got to take a closer look and see what we're really dealing with here. According to the seller, this C20 is in excellent condition. It's a Golden Anniversary Edition, featuring a 327 engine and a 4-speed manual transmission. Plus, it's got power steering and power brakes, which is a nice touch for a truck of this age. Now here's where things get really interesting. This truck is originally from Montana, which means it's practically rust-free. And when the seller says rust-free, they mean it. In fact, they even go as far as saying that your brand new 2023 Silverado probably has more rust on it than this classic beauty. But, as with any vehicle of this age, there are a few minor issues to note. The original paint is a bit faded and has some dings and scratches, but that's to be expected. The original seat cover has a tear on the driver's side, but the seller has covered it with a cowboy blanket, and the foam is still in good condition. Under the hood, things are a bit dirty, but that's because it's 100% original. The seller does mention that some goofball drilled some air holes in the air cleaner at some point, but they've got a replacement air cleaner and fan shroud that will go with the truck. 20. Do I have a treat for you today? I've just come across an absolutely stunning 1952 Ford F1 that's up for grabs on Craigslist. And let me tell you, this beauty is something special. First things first, let's talk about the price. At $28,500, this truck might seem a bit steep, but trust me when I say that it's worth every penny. The seller has put a ton of work into this F1, and it shows in every detail. Under the hood, you'll find a professionally rebuilt 302 V8 engine with only 500 miles on it. That's right, folks. This engine is practically brand new. Paired with a C4 automatic transmission and a low-car shifter, this truck is ready to hit the road and turn some heads. But the upgrades don't stop there. The interior has been completely redone with new carpet, headliner, and door panels. Everything works like a charm, from the speedometer to the heater to the wipers and lights. And let's not forget about those almost new Hankook tires. This truck is ready to roll. The seller has also taken care of all the important stuff under the truck, with new brakes, brake lines, fuel tank, and gauge. The single exhaust has been newly done, and there are even new shocks on the rear. And if you're not a fan of the current wheels, the seller has other options available. Now let's talk about the paint. The cab was taken off a couple of years ago for a full repaint, and the result is stunning. The red finish is sure to turn heads wherever you go, and the overall condition of this truck is described as like new.